Hello everyone and welcome to my YouTube channel. The Best Loser here once again, and well, it's time for me to do the weekly Forex forecast for the upcoming week. I know I've been missing in action for a little while, guys. It's because I was actually sick for a little bit, but right now, actually I wanted to really put out a video last week, but you know, I had cough and my voice was almost off, so that's the reason why I didn't put out a video last weekend. But well, I think I'm feeling much better right now, and well, let's get back into it. So as usual, guys, I'm going to be kicking things off by taking a look at Forex Factory to see what we have from an economical perspective, all right, from a fundamental perspective. Okay, so as you can see here, well, we do have on Sunday, from the Japanese axis, it says lower house elections. I don't know much about this. I'm not going to really speak much about it because again, you know, I don't really know much about this. And this is coming up from the, you know, the Japanese axis. But again, it's all day on Sunday. Usually I don't place any trades on Sunday, okay? So I'm not even going to worry much about this, okay? But then on Monday, we don't have any high impact news. So I personally like that. You know, I like to really trade when there is no news around the horizon, all right? And then on Tuesday, we do have retail sales that are coming from the United States axis, okay? And also bank holidays in Japan, all right? So quite a light week, to be completely honest. And then on Wednesday, we do have, obviously, this high impact news, the non-farm payroll data coming out from the United States axis, and the unemployment data as well coming out. So this is well, going to be a mover, okay? We really know this news, okay? This is usually released on Fridays, but I think for the past few releases it's now being on Wednesday. Well, maybe that's a change, who knows. On Thursday, we do have the GDP data coming from the British axis, 2 a.m. Eastern, and also unemployment claims coming from the US axis, 8:30 a.m. Eastern. Then on Friday, we have CPI data coming from the Swiss axis, and also CPI data coming from the United States axis. So these are really high impact news that one needs to keep an eye on as we go into next week, okay? So this is pretty much you know, what we have in the economical calendar from a fundamental perspective, you know, the high impact news. Nice week, in my opinion. Enough fundamentals to put some volatility, or to at least maintain some volatility in the charts, okay? All right, so without any further delays, guys, let's take a look and see what we have on the charts. As usual, I'm going to be kicking things off with DXY. Now, if I take a look at DXY, guys, looking right now into the weekly time frame, if you notice last week, or let's say, yeah, this is still this week. So last week, you can see that we actually took off these lows in DXY, which in my own opinion is an indication that, well, we are now scoring lower highs and lower lows, which is something to really keep an eye on. Even though, you know, we ended up, you know, that week with a pin bar. After that spike to the downside, the markets closed with a pin bar, and you can see this week actually closed a bullish candle. But at the same time, the fact that this market has actually taken off these lows that we had around that 96.20 area or thereabouts, you know, that's actually something to, you know, keep an eye on, because again, supply zones have now been formed in the let's say daily time frame, that the market will now have to either break to the upside, you know, such a way that well, we can say that maybe this was just you know, a market overshoot over here, all right? But if those levels continue to hold, and let's say the market taps into the supply zone and we continue to push again to the downside, even scoring more lows, then chances are this market is, you know, you just have to look at it now like it's now in a downtrend, okay? But for right now, I'm still going to, you know, have that benefit of the doubt that you know, the market is probably going to still, maybe, who knows, give us that rotation to the upside. If we begin to clear these levels again to the upside, then maybe this was just a market overshoot. But as for right now, I mean, hey, this is a low. A new low has been formed in these markets, and then, well, for now, the markets can easily give us you know, another rotation to the downside. So let's see how it goes, okay? Taking a look right now at the daily charts, what do we have now in the daily charts? As you can see here, obviously we have this supply zone area that was formed as a result of the break of these levels of structure that we have in this area. Well, actually now, if you look here, we had pretty much a supply zone in here. We had a gap in here as well, okay? You can see that the gap that the markets had in this area and the supply zone. But something of interest here is the fact that, well, the bulls came in momentum. You can see these two bullish candles okay, violating this supply zone or invalidating this supply zone and also closing this gap that we have in this area. So, well, one can begin to make the case that, well, there are bulls coming in these markets, maybe from right around these areas, okay, such that, well, this might end up being a market overshoot, okay, but again, hey, we're still going to follow the market as, you know, as is, okay. So it's very possible the market gives you this type of push in here into this demand zone area, okay, and then we can begin to get a bounce to the upside. That is if this is the kind of you know, the price action that the market is going to print, okay. But for right now, honestly, there's not much that I can tell you right now in these markets. We obviously have a clear supply zone from this area. Markets can tap into this area and then we can watch to see the behavior of the market. But in my own opinion, as the market begins to get into this particular area that we have here, one needs to be very, very careful, because the bulls can easily come back again into this market and begin to push this in momentum. In the event that, let's say, the bulls come into this market and we begin to break above this supply zone, you know, begin to take off these levels, then I would say that chances are that maybe this is now most likely an overshoot, and then the markets might just be about to give us another rotation for further continuations to the upside. So those are the few scenarios. Also, one more: if the market gives us this push to the downside, begins to take off these lows for further continuations to the downside, then you know, in my own opinion, then chances are that the bears are now in this market, okay. We have to leave our options open, especially when it comes to, you know, doing this analysis, because again, you don't know. Don't get married to any particular setup or any particular analysis. Just follow the markets and flow the markets as the market moves, okay. So for right now, this is pretty much the level that I am seeing right now. Let's see how it goes, okay. So that's pretty much it for Dixie. Next up is going to be Euro US dollar. Now for Euro dollar, almost the inverse of Dixie, as you can see here. Also, if you go into the weekly charts, you can see that, well, we also took off that particular highs around 1.19, maybe 1918-ish. All right, and you can see we closed the pin bar and also you know, followed with another bearish week. But again, you know, the fact that the market is taking off this now is also meaning that we are now beginning to form, you know, higher highs and higher lows, okay. So again, this is obviously now an uptrend from the way the market is looking at this particular moment. All right, as we take a look at the daily charts, you can see that, well, in a similar manner, we have this demand zone also that has been formed on our charts, okay. This level of structure has been taken off. So, well, the markets can easily give us that push to that demand zone area. At least that is what I would prefer to see. If that happens and we begin to bounce off of this area, then chances are, in my own opinion, that this market might be giving us another swing to the upside, okay. But in the situation, let's say the market gets in here and we begin to break again to the downside, taking off these levels, then chances are that this was just an overshoot, okay. But again, for right now, based on the price action, this market is looking more bullish than bearish, okay. Just being you know, honest. And as you can see here, we had this gap here. That gap has been filled. Markets didn't bounce from it. So again, look at these areas, very, very important. Markets can dip in here and continue again to the, you know, to the downside. Who knows? All right, so I'm just going to be following price action. This market is in you know, areas that I would say, you know, if you're not careful, you probably can lose your account, okay, based on the way the market has been moving. All right, so and again, I'm speaking from experience. So I would say just follow the markets. There's a reason why personally I've been staying on the sidelines for the most part. It's mostly because, again, we are at key levels in this particular chart, and these markets can easily swing in any direction. It's not been the start that I wanted for this year, in all honesty, okay. Honestly, I've not really had a very good start to the year, so, but again, hey, we still have at least let's say 11 more months to go, so let's see how it goes, okay. It's all about being patient and then waiting for the strategies to play out, okay. But for now, you know, it's not been the kind of start that I wanted today for the year. All right, so that's it. So like I said, that with that out of the way, if this market is to get in here, I will be looking for opportunities to go long for further continuations to the upside, okay. That is going to be my course of action for Euro US dollar. All right, nothing in the really smaller time frames, honestly, at this point. So not much, honestly. The market's kind of hesitating, so there's nothing here. Maybe if we don't get into this particular area, okay, let's say this particular level is now going to be key. All right, if we don't get into this demand zone that we have on the daily, then I'm going to probably waiting for the markets to give me let's say a clear break above this particular level. If that happens and we begin to get pullbacks into demand zones in the smaller time frame, then I'll be looking to trade off of those demand zones for further continuations to the upside. Okay, so let's see how that goes. Okay, but my preferred course of action will be for these markets to give me another rotation, 1.1750 institutional price level, anywhere from right around there. Any reversals, I'll be looking for opportunities to go long for further continuations to the upside. All right, so that's it for Euro US dollar. Next up is going to be British pound some US dollar. Now for British pound some US dollar, well, very similar into the euro dollar currency pair. As you can see here, obviously we have this very nice demand zone area that led to the break of this level of structure that we have in this area. So again, just like in the case of euro dollar, I would prefer to see these markets give me a dip into this particular demand zone area. Anywhere from right around here, any reversals, in my own opinion, is going to be a high quality trade for further continuations to the upside. Okay, in terms of the smaller time frame right now, let's say if we take a look at the hourly, maybe the markets can easily dip into this particular supply zone area that we have here. Okay, maybe if the market dips into the supply zone area, we might get another rotation to the downside. Okay, but again, you know, I'm going to be keeping a very close eye on this one. This market is very close. Let me see how the market opens, and then from there I'll keep you guys posted in the Discord channel. All right, okay, so that's it for GU. Next up is going to be New Zealand dollar US dollar. Now for New Zealand dollar US dollar, let me see. Again, this pair is actually looking more bullish than bearish. Okay, even though we are now retesting these particular highs that we have in this particular area. Okay, the market is very close to those highs, so that's something to definitely keep in mind as you look for trades in New Zealand dollar US dollar. If you take a look at the daily charts, well, I doubt this market, if we are going to be continuing to the upside, I really doubt if we are going to be getting this type of retracements down into this particular demand zone areas. Okay, but again, this is the area where the markets started giving us that move to the upside. So again, if the market gets in here, I'll be keeping a very close eye on this particular area. Not the best for me to trade off of, because again, this is going to be quite a deep pullback. Okay, by then, you know, the bulls are pretty much in this particular market. Okay, so let's see how it goes. It's almost like what happened in this area. By the time the market gives you this dip into this particular supply zone, for the most part, this is usually going to be just for the markets to give us a pullback, you know, for the markets to continue again in that direction. So that's pretty much it for New Zealand dollar US dollar. As you can see, in my own opinion, honestly, I'm not too keen on, you know, waiting for these markets to give me this pullback, in all honesty. Okay, so if the market is to pull back to this area, in my own opinion, that is gonna be quite a deep pullback, even though obviously the markets can easily bounce. But you know, based on the way that I trade, I don't really want a very deep pullback of this nature, because should the markets get here, look at this swing. All right, this is quite a deep pullback, okay, in my own opinion. But again, it can work, but I've not really had much success with that. So that is just something to keep an eye on, in my own opinion. Just wait and see how the market behaves in this area. Maybe from this time frame, if the market begins to bounce, then you can zoom in. Again, this is the daily time frame, so you can maybe start zooming into the hourly time frame and you know, wait to see if demand zones form in the smaller time frame. And if that happens, then you start trading off of them in that particular time frame. That is pretty much how I am going to approach this particular you know, currency pair. Okay, so that's pretty much it for New Zealand dollar US dollar. One second, let me clean up my charts. Next up is going to be Australian dollar US dollar. Okay, so for Australian dollar US dollar, what do we have here? Again, I'm looking at the daily charts now. You will notice well, for this particular pair, actually this week I took a trade on this one, but it didn't really work out the way that I anticipated. First profit target was hit, but the markets turned around, took me off, and then started going back to the upside. So well, that's pretty much been the story for this year, to be completely honest. Okay, you know, markets will take off, I get in, it takes off, maybe gets to first profit target, and just turns around from there. And well, let's see. Hopefully the rest of the year will be better. All right, so but again, this is a demand zone in the daily charts, and as you can see, well, compared to the, let's say, euro dollar, you can see that well, this is the gap that we have right here. That gap, okay, the equivalent gap that we have in Aussie is actually holding, right? But in the case of, let's say, euro dollar and DXY, those gaps have already been filled, and you know, the market has broken to the downside. So that is something to definitely keep an eye on. Okay, so Australian dollar US dollar is actually looking more bullish than, let's say, the likes of euro dollar. Okay, all right. So, but again, not much here. The market is pretty much consolidating right now, in my own opinion. For me to really start being keen on looking for long opportunities, I want to see the market begin to take off these levels of resistance to the upside. Okay, and also for me to start be keen on looking on. So for bearish opportunities, I want to see the markets begin to break to the downside from here, okay, before I start searching for short opportunities off of let's say supply zones that begin to form on the charts. Okay, so that's it, not much. Okay, I'm just going to be keeping an eye on this one. The market has not really been doing a whole lot. I went long somewhere right around here, I think, and the markets gave us this push. I took it a little bit out of the market, and then the markets turned around, stopped me out, and right now you can see we're getting another push to the upside. Well, that is the markets for you. Okay, so that's it for Australian dollar, US dollar. Next up is going to be US dollar, Canadian dollar. Well, for this particular pair, if I go into the daily charts, actually from the monthly charts, I told you guys that it's looking more bullish, but I didn't like this candle, and you can see the market has not really been going anywhere since then. Yes, we are still inside this huge demand zone that we have on the monthly, but again, this is now a very it's not looking as nice as I want it to. Okay, all right, so that being said, if we take a look at the daily charts, you'll notice that again we were keeping an eye on this particular supply zone back here, right? And you can see how the markets tapped in there and gave us another swing to the downside. Okay, but before taking off this level, we had another supply zone and the markets gave us this push. Now the market has come back into this particular supply zone area. You can see we are getting some hesitation. So again, this is one I'm keeping a very close eye on. Let's say the market maybe gives us another push to the upside, maybe just to grab liquidity above these highs. If that happens and we begin to get a push to the downside, then chances are we are continuing to the downside. But in the event that, let's say, the markets from here begins to again give us another push to the upside, clearly breaking above this level of supply, then chances are that the bulls are in these markets, and I'll be looking for opportunities to go long for further continuations to the upside. That's pretty much my game plan for US dollar, Canadian dollar. Now, next up is going to be US dollar, Swiss francs. US dollar, Swiss francs, in my own opinion, actually looks better than these other pairs that I've been talking about. Clear levels, in my own opinion. Well, the market has filled up that gap. So who knows? Are we going to get a rotation to the downside first into these particular areas? Okay, and then let's say the bulls come up from there and come into the markets from here into the supply zone, from where I will expect the markets to maybe give us a reaction, or at least maybe another swing to the downside. Who knows? But again, maybe that key level, in my own opinion, this supply zone here is a key area, in this particular charts, because again, if the markets tap in here and we begin to get reversals, then chances are we're going back to the downside. In the event, let's say the market, taps in here, okay, and just pulls back and continues to the upside, taking off this supply zone, then chances are that we are getting that reversal, the bulls are in these markets, and we search for demand zones for further continuations to the upside. Okay, that's pretty much it. Now, in the event that, let's say, the market turns around from here and takes off these particular levels, then obviously the bears are in these markets, and I'll just continue searching for short opportunities. That's pretty much it for US dollar, Swiss francs. Next up is going to be US dollar, Japanese yen. Now, US dollar, Japanese yen, honestly, I'm gonna keep it very simple. The markets gave us this dip. Okay, remember we had this pin bar that we were keeping an eye on, the last time, and we had this bearish week, and well, the bears came into this market, and you can see we pushed this market all the way from, let's say, 159 down to 152. And then we got this pin bar, okay, in the direction of the trend off of these demand zones that we have in this area. And you can see now the bulls came in momentum again. So it is looking more bullish than bearish at this particular point, in my own opinion. So let's see. However, there are key levels, obviously, that you want to keep an eye on. Let's say this particular area here, because this is where the selling started, okay, that took off all these demand zones to the downside. So be very, very careful as you trade this particular pair, because chances are, if the market gets in here, we can easily get a major rejection off of those areas, okay? But in the event, let's say the market begins to break out of this area and begins to take off the supply zone to the upside, making new highs, then that is an indication that the bulls are in these markets, and obviously any pullbacks, I'll be looking for demand zones to hold for further continuations to the upside. For right now, if we go into, let's say, the 4 hours time frame or even the hourly time frame, you notice that well, obviously this market is in an uptrend, And well, right now we are pretty much in a consolidation, in my own opinion. And well, I'll be keeping an eye on this one to see, is the market going to give me a break above this particular highs that we have in this area? Okay, let's see, right around here, will the market break these highs, or are we going to maybe come to the downside and maybe retest these lows, or even begin to break to the downside? I personally am more inclined to look for long opportunities in this particular currency pair. So I personally would prefer to see these markets maybe give me a break to the upside. Okay, that will be my preferred course of action. Okay, so that upon pullbacks, any demand zones that form, I'll be looking for, buy opportunities for further continuations to the upside. Okay, all right, so that's pretty much it. And as usual, guys, I'm going to be keeping you guys posted in the Discord. I know I've not been active in the Discord, but just like I posted and told you guys, I have been sick for a while, and I'm feeling better now. So hopefully, I'm going to be getting more time to look at the charts and trade. So that's pretty much it. Okay, so that's it for US dollar Japanese yen. Next up is going to be British pound some Japanese yen. Now for British pounds Japanese yen, not much here. You can see this market actually is still in a consolidation, as you can see. Let me plot these levels. Okay, so you can see this is where the market has been all this while. Market has been ranging. We retest these highs that we have around let's say 215 area, and the market gives us a push to the downside, and we've just been bouncing up and down within this range in the daily. All right, now that being said, if you, let's say, go into the 4 hours time frame or even the daily charts, you notice that well, the market just tapped into this area. In the 4 hours time frame, you notice that well, the market's just pulled back to tap into this particular demand zone that we have in this area that led to the break of this level of structure. Now honestly, I was keeping an eye on this one, but again, I think by the time this happened, I was at work, and this market never really gave me the pullback I was looking for before taking off to the upside. So well, this one is gone. I let it go. Okay, there's not much I can do about it. Okay, if I miss it, I miss it. That's part of the game. So well, right now, what can I do at this point? If I go into, let's say, the minute 30 time frame, obviously I'm gonna wait for these markets to develop for a little bit, okay, as we go into next week, because again, like I said, if you remember from the fundamentals, we have that, I think they said, lower level elections or something like that. I don't know what that is, so I don't know how it's going to impact the yen crosses. So I'll be staying away from an intraday perspective for Sunday, and then let's say from Monday, based on the price action that forms on the charts, that is what is going to determine how I'm going to be mapping out my demand zones in this particular currency pair, at least from the intraday perspective. Okay, but from the longer term perspective, I'll prefer to see the markets begin to take off that 215 to the upside, okay, or give us a reversal to the downside, maybe towards let me say maybe a few key levels here. In my own opinion, might be something of this nature. These zones around here look like they have not been tested, so you can see this area here. The markets can easily, if we're going to be pushing to the downside, the markets can push in here and then give us that continuation to the upside. Okay, so this is one obviously that I'm going to be keeping an eye on as we go into next week. All right, so that's it for British pound some Japanese yen. Next up is going to be euro yen. Now euro yen, in my own opinion, obviously looking bullish. Again, the markets have not really taken off. This demand zone continues to hold, and but again, after all that, we are not really getting that push to the upside. I want to really see these markets begin to give us a clear push in a direction. Okay, if it's going to be to the upside, which is looking more likely right now based on the fact that we are forming higher highs and higher lows. If we continue to push to the upside, then I want to see clear push. But for right now, the market is not doing much, in my own opinion. Okay, right now obviously we are beginning to form demand zones of interest in the let's say 4 hours time frame. You can see we broke this level of structure, so that is good news now. So who knows, are we going to get a pullback into this particular demand zone? All right, are we going to get this pullback into this demand zone before the market gives us another push to the upside, or is the market just maybe going to retest the demand zones from the intraday levels, just to maybe retest this previous swing high, and then from here we continue to the upside? Okay, who knows? Let's see how it goes. Obviously, I'm going to be keeping a very close eye on this particular highs that we have in this area, actually this whole area. Let's see how the market behaves. All right, so that's it. Right now it's looking like we are beginning to get, nice trending patterns in euro yen. Okay, the market's forming higher highs and higher lows in a nice swinging pattern. So let's see if that is going to continue for further, for further continuations to the upside. I'm going to be keeping a very close eye on euro yen from the intraday perspective right now. Like I said, well, I'm keeping an eye. Let's say maybe 185.50. The markets can bounce off of 185.50. But again, this all depends on how the market opens. Again, anything can happen off of, the fundamentals. But again, if this happens, let's say the market gives us a favorable open, and let's say by London, this is the price action we're seeing, then chances are I'm going to be looking for long opportunities off of this level. Okay, previous swing high demand zone, all right, and institutional price level of 185.50. That's a nice level for me, in my own opinion, to start searching for long opportunities in euro yen. Okay, so that's pretty much it for euro yen. Next up is going to be Australian dollar Japanese yen. This one actually is giving a better swinging pattern. Actually, there was a trade I was monitoring in 4 hours time frame in AJ, but again, this did not give me an entry, okay, for a favorable risk to reward, so I didn't take it, okay. But again, you can see the markets took off to the upside as I had anticipated. You can see in the 4 hours time frame, you guys already know how I trade. I was keeping an eye on this particular demand zone area. Markets gave us the tap, pin bar, but you can see we didn't really get a pullback in this case. So the markets just continued to push to the upside, and well, I didn't quite get an entry, but again, everything happened almost textbook, okay, minus the fact that I didn't get an entry. But again, that one is now out of the way. But in the process now, the market has also formed a new demand zone, because now we have broken this level of structure to the upside. So right now I'm keeping an eye on this one. Let's see if the market opens. Who knows? Are we going to get this pullback into this demand zone? If we have that happen, then I'm going to be looking at this pair, waiting for confirmations for further continuations to the upside. Okay, so let's see how that goes. But again, this is going to be my preferred course of action. From the intraday perspective, let me see. Do we have anything of interest? It's just a very steep move, guys. You can see. I mean, it's just the market didn't really give me, it's just a very steep trend. Okay, I don't like to trade off of this type of trend. So let's see if the market is going to, maybe, who knows, will we get just a pullback enough for another swing? But then if that happens, then we begin to get a better looking trend, in my own opinion. But if that doesn't happen, and let's say the market just begins to push to the downside, then obviously I would like to see how the market behaves in this demand zone. If that happens, then I'll be looking for opportunities to go long for further continuations to the upside. Okay, so that's pretty much it for Australian dollar Japanese yen. I think the next is going to be gold. Okay, so for gold, as you can see here, obviously we had this huge drop. Okay, the markets really gave us a very nice push to the upside. I think we got towards 5,600. Okay, actually, yes, 5,600 was just what was tested, and from there the markets dropped from 5,600 all the way down to 4,400. But as you can see here, this is a very huge drop. Markets retested these particular demand zones here. You can see this area. Okay, it's just a huge area. The market tapped in my own opinion. Actually, you can narrow that down into maybe something of this nature. Yeah. So yes, this market tapped into this area, and then you can see that the bulls are now coming back into this market. It's my own opinion, it's still looking bullish. Maybe the markets might hesitate a little bit, but I think for right now it is still looking bullish. Okay, there's no reason for me to be going short in gold at this particular moment. Okay, yes, we did get this pullback, in my own opinion, but again, if I believe that was just enough pullback, to retrace to, let's say, better levels, buying levels for the institutional players, and then from there the market is turning around right now, to continue to the upside. Okay, so that's pretty much it. Not much. Let's see, if you're going to, let's say, the 4 hours time frame, not much is going on here either. The markets gave us this nice push, and now we got a little retracement. You can see the markets pretty much just tapped into this particular zone that we have in here, and then from there you can see the bulls are now coming back into this market. Key levels, in my own opinion, if we go into, let's say, the hourly time frame, you can see, obviously, from an intraday perspective, I want to see gold take off this level to the upside. Okay, like I said, I prefer long opportunities, in all honesty. So the question is, will the markets give us a break here to take off this level? If that happens, any demand zones that form in that process, I'll be looking for the markets to, bounce for further continuations to the upside. Okay, now in the event that the market doesn't take off to the upside first, I'm going to be keeping an eye on, let's say, 4800 levels, okay, which is also going to coincide with this demand zone that we have in this area. Any bounces from right around here as well will be valid for further continuations to the upside. Okay, so those are the key levels that I'm keeping an eye on. Right around this 5100 and 4800, those are going to be key for me. Pull back into here, a bounce, I'll be long, a break above here, a pull back into demand zones that led to the break, and then I'll be looking for opportunities to go long for further continuations to the upside. That's pretty much it for gold. Again, obviously, if anything changes, I'm going to be keeping you guys posted in the Discord channel. Next is going to be silver. Okay, now for silver, actually I took a trade in silver which ended in a loss. I expected a similar behavior from silver, just like gold was behaving, but you can see that in the case of silver, this push to the downside took off this low and took me out in the process. But again, well, I'm still keeping a very close eye on this one. I still am looking bullish in this, and you can see that the market is now pretty much beginning to give us a break above this particular trend line. All right, so well, who knows? I'm keeping an eye on this particular one, keeping an eye obviously at this particular level. In the event that the markets open next week and we get a break above this particular level, in my own opinion, if the market begins to pull back, I'll be looking for opportunities to go long for further continuations to the upside. That is pretty much what I'm waiting for in silver now. I'm willing to give it a second chance to see if this market, if this was just an overshoot. Okay, who knows? The markets are not perfect, and then let's see if this level is going to hold, and in that case, maybe we get a push to the upside. Okay, so that's pretty much it for silver. The last but not the least is going to be Bitcoin. Bitcoin, as if you guys can remember, I told you guys that I personally would like to see this pair give me a push into this particular demand zone that we have on the daily. Market has now given me that push as I wanted. So right now, honestly, if you are just looking to just trade Bitcoin, let's say you are generally bullish in Bitcoin, you are just looking at it from an investment perspective, I think this is a nice area to start adding to your positions. Okay, this pullbacks into this area. Again, this is not financial advice. This is just me telling you what I would do if I was looking at it from an investment perspective, because again, this from 120, okay, back to 60 or 60,000, that is huge, okay, in my opinion. So again, this is a nice pullback in my opinion, in case you're looking to just look at it from an investment perspective. Maybe if it continues to drop even further, who knows, you can look to add in this area. But from a trading perspective, I personally would say, well, we've now gotten this pullback, and let's see if we are going to get any key levels on the charts. If you look at the daily, you notice that well, even though we have now pulled in and maybe the bulls are looking as if they're coming into this market, the market is still looking more bearish in this particular time frames. Okay, obviously we do have this particular supply zone in here. All right, so maybe at least, if nothing else, wait for these supply zone areas to give way to the upside. Okay, because the markets can easily tap in here and give you another rotation to the downside. Okay, or the markets can easily tap in here and give you another rotation to the downside. So I would say just wait and see how the market behaves off of these particular supply zone areas. Okay, if the market begins to break the supply zones, then any pullback, start looking for opportunities to go long in these particular markets for a new swing to the upside towards the previous swing highs and beyond, in my opinion. Okay, so that's pretty much how I'm going to be approaching it from a trading perspective. But if you're looking at it from an investment perspective, honestly, these pullbacks into these areas, I think 60k is a nice level to be, to start adding to your positions for a push to the upside. So let's see. All right, so that's pretty much it for this particular week, guys. I know that this particular video is a little rusty. I was a little rusty while making this particular video, so please bear with me. I've just been off for about 2 weeks, so I think that's probably the reason. But hopefully, as I get back into my regular cadence, I think it's going to improve as well. So I'll see you guys in the next video. Cheers, and well, enjoy the rest of your weekend. Bye bye.